Jim Murren says one of the most important factors will be building consumer confidence. He says that buyers need to feel safe when they go inside a business. Tourists need to feel safe if it's okay to start visiting again.
If we can improve consumer confidence, people will consume products, services, get out, go to those stores, and honor and frequent the small business.
A change of focus for former MGM CEO Jim Murren, who now heads up Nevada's private sector COVID-19 task force. In the initial weeks following its formation, Murren says the task force made sure Nevada's healthcare providers had enough PPEs and dramatically increased the state's testing capacity. That in turn allowed the task force to pivot and focus now on reopening the state.
And a building block to that is education and testing. And that's why I'm so adamant, so passionate about providing broad-based testing throughout the state so we can understand where we are as a state, and we can give comfort to people who are not COVID positive, who can get out and consume what they love to consume, and to get back to work.
Murren says saving small businesses around the valley will depend heavily on jumpstarting the tourism industry.
When you rely, as Nevada does, one industry to represent 40 to 50% of the state budget, as Nevada does with gaming, and when gaming is closed down, it has a profoundly negative impact on small business.
And Murren adamantly believes good health behavior like wearing a mask is imperative to reopening.
It's quite selfish, in my view, to say that I deserve to do whatever I want because it's a free country. I believe that it is a free country, but we have responsibilities as citizens to care for one another.
Hitting the road to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Dozens of cars driving up and down Las Vegas Boulevard today in the Hot Rods for Heroes cruise. News 3's Kyle Wilcox spoke to several people who spent their Memorial Day honoring the fallen.
Loud engines and fast cars filled the Las Vegas Strip, as you could see behind me. Some wanted to use their cars to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. The Strip going from empty and quiet to sounding like the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. All to honor all fallen soldiers on Memorial Day.
Celebrate my brother's sacrifice. He was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam.
The flag on the front says it all.
Showing our pride for our country and showing support.
Hot rods, muscle cars, motorcycles all line the Strip, many with flags waving. Donald Wright drove his Dodge Challenger to show appreciation.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. It's just words can't. Thank you for your service doesn't mean enough to how I feel about it.
U.S. Army veteran Mike Martin's there with his mint 1955 Chevy Bel Air. Loved the turnout.
You get to see collections of cars that you just don't see. It's really good to see people out. And
others say it's a reminder to never forget what many sacrificed.
Freedom is not free.
In Las Vegas, Kyle Wilcox, News 3.
Well, our local mountains packed today with a lot of people who wanted to get out of town and have some cooler temperatures. In fact, many southern Nevadans ventured out into nature as some of those restrictions start to slowly lift in our valley. But as News 3's Denise Rosh explains, a lot of visitors up there on the mountain are still doing their best to spread out.
Any variation in activity, it's a good thing.
Andrew Salazar might be one of the lucky ones, finding a parking spot in a crowded corner of Mount Charleston. And judging from what he's seen so far,
it's a little concerning.
Social distancing will take some effort.
But at the same time, I really feel for a lot of them. There is not a lot that you can do at home, especially because of extended quarantine hours.
From Cathedral Rock to Mary Jane Falls, all parking lots full by mid-morning. Ray Johnson with the U.S. Forest Service,
Visitor center is closed, the campgrounds are closed,
says illegally parked vehicles can become a safety issue.
We still have accidents that are happening up here, and our emergency vehicles in Mount Charleston Fire Protection District as well as Metro have to respond to different incidents up here, so we need to keep things safe for them as well.
And while some areas are slowly reopening, visitors should understand services are still spotty on the mountain. These restrooms right here, for instance, closed, while the ones right there are open. And that's the way it could be for the foreseeable future.
Hey guys, how are you?
One bright spot, the Mount Charleston Lodge, reopened and ready for business.
So it's all paper products, everything's disposable, all 6-foot distancing, removed all the furniture.
General Manager Thomas Schneckloff says the restaurant was closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic for 2 months. Now half the tables are gone and guests have room to spread out.
Enjoy your lunch and thanks for coming out.
Being open for Memorial Day, he says, is huge.
March, we had some of the best snow we had all year. We lost all that traffic, and then of course April, all those triple-digit days almost where we were real hot and we lost all that traffic. So, but we're ramping up, we're getting back to speed, and we're starting to see some normalcy back.
Something families are looking for themselves along the trails.
Just to get away from the city. We haven't been out in so long.
A return to nature and taking nothing about this for granted. Denise Rosh, News 3.
All right, LaToya. Well, Wednesday, the UFC is meeting with the Athletic Commission, I thought, to get the official green light to hold its upcoming fights here in Las Vegas. However, from all accounts, Saturday, May 30th at the UFC Apex here in Vegas is already having a thumbs up, especially with the UFC implementing new guidelines for coronavirus testing to fighters in their camps. Now, remember, just one fighter in their 3 events in Jacksonville, Florida tested positive. So May 30th at the UFC Apex, it's former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley versus contender Gilbert Burns. And folks, this is really a good fight. Woodley, who feels he's the best welterweight ever, hasn't fought in over a year. The fight he lost his title and had his 7-fight unbeaten streak snapped. Woodley taking on Burns, a very heavy-handed contender on a 5-fight win streak. Saturday at the Apex again. Hopefully they'll allow some media, but we shall see. So the UFC is back, NASCAR, and even golf. So that means hockey is on its way sooner than later, right? Well, the NHL's outline became public today. Phase 2 of resuming play entails opening team facilities for small group skates and workouts, not practices like this. But for more info on what the NHL's memo means to hockey, specifically the Golden Knights, let's bring in Jesse Merrick, who's been studying all that information for this report.
Marchessault hangs onto it. Back up top, there's a shot by Theodore. He scores. Shea Theodore wins it in overtime.
It's been 2.5 months since we saw that, but soon the boys could get back out on the ice as the NHL hopes to roll out phase 2 of their plan to bring the season back in early June.
In this phase, teams will be allowed to open their practice facilities for voluntary small group workouts with no more than 6 players at a time. Throughout all of this, some players will be subject to 14-day self-quarantines based on whether or not they traveled back to their team's city for this phase. There's also going to be plenty of testing involved too. For now, no coaches are allowed on the ice, but they can observe what's going on. And after 7 days, goalies...
KM into the offensive zone. Rush shot off the crossbar. Rebound! And a diving save by Fleury!
Yeah, like that guy or Leonard can hire an independent goalie coach for some one-on-one work in the facility. These on-ice sessions will be non-contact, and players are expected to maintain social distancing the entire time. So with all that, we wait for an official rollout date, but this is obviously a step that brings us much closer to this. For News 3 Sports, I'm Jesse Merrick.
Ooh, I'm starting to get hyped a little bit. All right, thanks, Jesse. Well, last night I had a sports night spitfire for the ages. It was the tale of Sandra and Merritt Carlos, a woman who got a flat tire late night and was stranded at a gas station until a knight in shining armor refused to let her wait for AAA to come to the rescue and decided to change that tire for her. Now, after doing some probing, Sandra found out that the gentleman, in every sense of the word, was Randall Grimes, a Las Vegas kid from Desert Pines High School and current wide receiver for the UNLV Rebels. Sandra was kind enough to sing Randall's praises on her social media and posting this great picture and saying, sometimes when life throws things at you that make you smile and realize there are lots of good people out there,